Welcome to the Paradigm Shift on 4ZZZ 102.1, where we challenge the assumptions of our current society to resist oppression and investigate alternative ways of living, for a world based on justice, solidarity and sustainability.
Welcome to the Paradigm Shift on 4ZZZ 102.1 FM. It is your local community radio station. My name is Andy and I will be with you for the next hour, broadcasting on Yagara and Turrbal country. And my apologies about my voice, which is sounding a bit rusty. I've somehow managed in this tropical weather to catch a bit of a cold, but I have pushed through to get us a show. Look after yourselves out there. A lot of bugs going around. But today on the show, I'm going to talk about Christmas. It is that time of year, and I know some of us, we get a bit sick of hearing about Christmas actually this time of year, with all the catalogues of things to buy and all the songs and just the kind of oversaturation of this thing, which had become such a festival of consumerism. But I think Christmas is worthwhile holding on to and trying to find some meaning in. And I have over the last few years, each year, the week before Christmas on the Paradigm Shift, I've done a Christmas show. And I think our culture in so many ways is so shallow, which I actually put part of the blame on consumer capitalism with its endless kind of newness. You always need something new to replace the old, new things to buy, new technologies, new things for the news cycle, your attention economy, and all that kind of thing, that we end up with a culture that's often quite shallow. And it's good to try to search for some deeper things, some deeper stories, some things that unite us all, what it is, what's a real culture, you know, the things, the superstructure that binds us, all random people that happen to be living in the same place. What are the things that make us similar, that connect us? And so we need these kind of stories, archetypes, rituals, and Christmas is one that we have in our culture, that we even get a slight break from the grind of, you know, work and buying things with a couple of public holidays in a row. And of course, because it comes at the end of the year, it's also an excellent time for reflection and for hanging out with family, because you get a few days off. People can get together and hang out and take some time just to care for each other. All these things are very valuable, and I think we need to stop and think about whether we're losing some of these things and whether they're worth fighting for. But also the Christmas story itself is very interesting, and I think it has a lot to say, and particularly it has a lot to say at this time right now, when Bethlehem, the town in question, and Palestine, the land in question in this story, are in such a terrible state of siege and of destruction and of trauma, and have been for, well, quite a long time really, but particularly the last year and a bit. And so today on the show, we're going to go to Bethlehem. At least we're going to hear from somebody in Bethlehem. I did speak this week to Usama Nicola, who is a Palestinian man who lives in Bethlehem, the home of Christmas. And I spoke to him last year, actually, at Christmas as well. But I think it's so valuable to hear from Palestinian people, first off, who are suffering through something terrible, but also to sort of interrogate this story, the Christmas story, which has this restriction of movement in it because of, you know, powerful people. It has a mass slaughter of children, and it has, you know, refugees fleeing. but also it does have hope and ways of finding hope. And so all those things, I think, are relevant to Bethlehem right now, and so does Usama Nicola, who I spoke to about it. So without hearing more of my failing voice, let's get into my conversation with Usama.
Hello, good morning everyone. This is Usama Nicola from Bethlehem. I'm a local activist and a tour guide.
And Bethlehem, it is in the news this time of year in the Western world, mostly talking about what's happened a long time ago, but at the moment, Bethlehem, a lot of things have been happening here. So do you want to give us a bit of a update of what the last year since we last spoke to you has been like in Bethlehem?
You know, nothing has been better. It has been complicated, dangerous situation. You know, like we have been sieged, we have been gated, we have been, you know, like surrounded by checkpoints, settler violence, military raids. So nothing has been better, you know, still facing many difficulties. Jobless is very high, a lot of daily restrictions, and like today, checkpoints around Bethlehem were closed almost twice a week, 3 times a week. You know, every day checkpoints will be closed. You go to Hebron, you don't know if you can come back in time. You go to Ramallah. You know, for me, I don't move more this time, only for necessary things. But moving between cities in the West Bank became very hard and very complicated. And when we talk about Bethlehem, as we are facing a Christmas, you know, this year is like last year, without any celebration outdoor, without lights, without Christmas tree, without Christmas tree festival, without the annual market, Christmas market we do, without all these lights and Christmas celebration. You know, we are reminded that the true light of this season is justice, compassion, and solidarity. So we hope that the birthplace of hope, you know, like Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and we talk about the first human rights fighter, you know. I ask you to carry this light forward, standing with us, speak out for us, and work for a world where peace and dignity are not denied to everyone, you know, and to anyone. So dignity, peace, justice is what we need this Christmas.
In the news, there's been a lot about Gaza and the bombing, the decimation there, and more recently we've seen a lot of bombing in Lebanon. But in the West Bank, in places like Bethlehem, there has been a strong military presence. What has the military incursions been like in Bethlehem and the surrounding areas?
Yes, the focus has been always on Gaza, and Gaza situation is terrible and unbelievable. No more life in Gaza. Gaza is a place where no more life is. But the situation in the West Bank has been also tough. There has been many difficulties. For example, in Bethlehem, we are squeezed in around as Palestinian. In Bethlehem, more than 85% of the Palestinians live in less than 13% of Greater Bethlehem. Like the same, most of the Palestinians live in less than 40% of the West Bank. So big part of Greater Bethlehem we can't reach. So we became gated, surrounded by gates, military checkpoints, and military raids. Most of the military raids are at night time, you know, after midnight or early morning, where military raid a neighborhood or the whole city. You know, always they say it's for security, but you know, like it's to frighten people, sometimes arrested some people, but you know, it affects everyone. Sometimes we can't send our kids to school at time if the raid is still ongoing in the morning. Sometimes like what happened with us last year, we couldn't pick our kids from school when they have leave their school, and we send a friend to take them at their home because we couldn't leave our home because of a military raid in our neighborhood. So it's so scary, it's so stressful for our children, for us, and it could escalate easily. But most of the time, the military raids happen at night time.
Have there been many people killed in the last year in Bethlehem from military raids?
Less than 1,000 Palestinians were killed in total in the West Bank. Around 15 were killed in Bethlehem area. I don't know the exact number because I'm not prepared, but I think there is around 15 in Bethlehem area has been killed.
Let's talk about something a bit more cheery, I guess, and that it is Christmas time, and even at a time like this when it's hard to celebrate, it's still, I guess, there must be a lot of pride in coming from Bethlehem at this time of year. In Australia, all our cities are very young, only a couple of 100 years old. But what is it like to live in such a historic city as Bethlehem?
It's very special and very unique to be, part of all this history. Bethlehem is a Canaanite town that goes back to 5,000 years old. And the Aramaic name is Bethlehem, which means the house of the bread. So Bethlehem is very old town. And, it has been always a small town that's connected to Jerusalem, where it has been separated. And for me, I feel very lucky just to be living in Bethlehem, some meters away from the birthplace of Jesus, the Church of Nativity, which was built between 327 to 333 AD, during the Roman period. So the first church was built in the 4th century, where Helena and her son Emperor Constantine, when they came to visit the Holy Land and visit the sites where everything happened in Jesus' life. So it's a very special to be there. That's like my every day walking out of my home. I see it. I love to look at it and to see the sounds and listen the sounds of the rings. Unfortunately, this year there isn't visitors. We used to have on Christmas Eve around 10 to 12,000 visitors from all over the world to enjoy the celebration in Bethlehem in that special night. But unfortunately, last year and this year, there is no visitors. Hotels are empty. There is a place in the inn, but the inn is empty. We learned from the mistake that we do 2,000 years ago when we say there is no place in the inn. So Bethlehem is the capital of Christmas, is the first place where Christmas has been celebrated. And it's very special to be in Bethlehem during this season, to walk Star Street, the street that Mary and Joseph walked to the Nativity, the street that the Magi has followed the star to reach the birthplace and to pay homage for Jesus Christ and to present the gifts for him. So it's very special to be in Bethlehem, and especially during this Christmas season. But unfortunately, Bethlehem is so sad, because something is missing, joy is missing. There has been a lot of loss, there has been a lot of suffer, and this land must be a source of a blessing instead of source of bitterness and fear and pain. So hopefully with all the activity that's going around the world, there will be an end for all these atrocities, for the war, for the genocide, for the apartheid, and there will be equal rights for everyone where peace and dignity and justice can be present.
I'd like to talk a bit about the Christmas story, because I think for people in Australia who we've heard this story again and again, it maybe doesn't mean much, but actually I think this year maybe it's a very powerful story actually, if we look back at that place where it happened. And so maybe let's start with Joseph and Mary being forced to go to Bethlehem in the first place by the emperor at the time in Rome. This is interesting, a story about not having freedom of movement because you live under occupation. What relevance does that have today?
There is a lot of similarities. Jesus was born under the Roman occupation, and travel for registration, because there has been this order. So Joseph and Mary came all this way from Nazareth to Bethlehem during her pregnancy, and this has been really hard. And later on, after the Magi's, the wise men has met with Herod. Herod, he's the only king, and when he hear about that there is a new king born or will be born, he will get mad. So he asked his soldiers to kill the innocent children of Bethlehem, where Joseph get the dream or the message from the angels, from God, to take the baby and Mary and fly to Egypt. So Jesus became a refugee, seeking for protection and security, left to Egypt with Joseph and Mary. The story of Jesus is not different than the circumstances today. It's more complicated, because today Jesus and Mary can't reach Bethlehem, or the Magi's can't reach Bethlehem, because a concrete wall that separates Bethlehem from Jerusalem, 8 to 12 meters high. So there is many checkpoints around Bethlehem. There is wall around Bethlehem. So they will find more difficulties, and there is more difficulties these days. The journey to Bethlehem will not that be easy from Nazareth to Bethlehem. So the circumstances still similar. Okay, occupation is still there. It's different type of occupation, but the occupation is still there. So the old Herod, we have a new Herod. The Roman Empire, we have a new empire. So situation has been different, and Jesus came to free people and help us to be assertive and not aggressive. But unfortunately, there is still, injustice happening in the land of Jesus, the land of the Bible.
Yeah, and one of the, I guess, very sad and terrible things about the story that also has a relevance today is the story of King Herod. And I guess a lot of dead children in the Christmas story, and there's been a lot of dead children in Palestine, hasn't there?
Right, that's true. 80% of the victims in Palestine are children and women. So there is high number of children. So every time I am walking in Bethlehem and I look to the east of Bethlehem, I saw King Herod Palace, which remind me of the innocent children of Bethlehem. So this must end, every child has a right of protection and safe shelter and decent life. We can't provide our children many times with the basic needs and protection, which is really hard. Sometimes we feel guilty, and this is why many families from Bethlehem has left in the past year. More than 80 families, mainly Christian families that I know, has left the city, and many individuals has left, whether to America, to Australia, to Canada, to France, to Spain. So immigration is growing, never stopped, and this is not gonna be helpful. We need the young people to stay, we need the wealthy people to stay, we need the educated people to stay, because we need a better future. We don't want to surrender to this ugly reality. Many people are just leaving, trying to have a better life and better security for their children.
Yeah, it's interesting because the classic image of Christmas is the newborn baby and a happy family, and I guess the joy and hope that brings with every new life. But the other side of it is, when there has been a lot of children lost, there's such a trauma around that, isn't that, for the people that are still alive?
That's true. For us, Christmas is a season of joy, but also it's a message of no fear. we always have been waiting for Christmas season to come because, like there is a lot of lights, there is a lot of celebrations, there is a lot of joy, all these accessories, which is part of the celebration, is very important just to let you feel the environment, the Christmas songs and the Christmas hymns and the Christmas lights and the Christmas tree and the Christmas grotto. All of these things help you to live the Christmas story. But also Christmas is when we feel one to another. But with all the that happening, it's hard to find real joy in your heart, It's so sad when you remember friends and families, when people are in danger, in shelters, and not safe even in their tents, and have no enough food, and so it's very painful just to think about what is happening.
Another part of the Christmas story that I guess is interesting is we have this story of Joseph and Mary with the no room at the inn, as he said, and they're sort of forgotten and left to have a baby amongst the animals. And I guess often people can feel forgotten. But the other side of it is that there is this solidarity from the shepherds, the people who maybe you wouldn't expect it. They come and show the solidarity with the family. And I'm curious your thoughts about that, about what it's like to be forgotten and to be remembered.
I think the story of Christmas, there is a lot to learn from it. When you read it about this, the story of birth, it's amazing. And, coming to Bethlehem, this little town, knocking the doors of this little town, and the inn, which is the guest house, has been full, no place, the place of the grotto of the animals under the inn became the holy place where God has decided to become a flesh among us. And later on, after Mary has robed him in warm clothes, where did she put him? She put him in the wooden manger where the food for the animals will be, The shepherds were the first people to get the good news. And in that time, the shepherds were ranked as lower class. They have been always bullied by the community, and they have not been accepted by the community. And they have been the first people to get the good news. So transformation, the story of salvation, the story of Jesus Christ has been always what God wants from us, is to accept. Even the sinner is going to be accepted because of his or her faith. So the shepherds has get the news. If the dignitary only get the news, it will stay up there. But when the shepherd get the good news, it will be spread from the lower part of the society all over. Okay, and they have followed, they have get the sign, and they went and pay respect and pay homage to the newborn baby and have the joy.
The next part of the story is the Magi who bring the gifts, and of course this has become such a big part of Christmas tradition, is gift giving. I wonder if people around the world see what's happening in Palestine and want to give something. What do you think is the best way people can give to Palestinian people at this Christmas?
The message to the Magi was amazing because, here we see that even people who don't believe in God in that time, has get a message, and they trust this message, and they follow their sense, their feelings, their and they brought these gifts. They have followed the star because they have good feelings, and they are good people, and they are wise. They are not religious people, but they have seen a new and a great king is born, and they get the message, and they follow it. So gifts is very important because, you have tell us we are not alone. And, like there is many way to give, and each one can do something to give. You can share information with your friends. You can make a donation. You can make a gathering and share stories. Like one of the organization in Bethlehem that I'm affiliated with. It's the Palestinian Conflict Transformation Center. If you'd like to visit WIAM Center website, the Palestinian Conflict Transformation Center in Bethlehem, and you would like to make a donation for WIAM's work and activities for the local community, that's a way. So every person can give, and sometimes a good word, sometimes share information, sometimes generous donation is always appreciated if this is possible. But every person have something to give. Try to learn more about reality for Palestinians. I think people in the West has been always introduced to different stories. Try to understand more the Palestinian narrative, the Palestinian reality, okay? And try to have a friendship with a Palestinian person in the Holy Land. Try to understand more daily life, understand more challenges and difficulties. So there is many way to give a gift to the Palestinian people, to keep hope alive among the Palestinian people, and just tell us that we have not been forgotten.
The last bit of the story that I guess I want to touch on is when Joseph and Mary take the baby Jesus to the temple, and they meet a couple of old people there, Simeon and Anna, and both these people, they're very happy and they get a lot of hope from seeing Jesus, but they give a warning about the sorrow that will come. And so I'm interested in, I guess, for Palestinian people, this balance of sorrow and hope. How does it feel living in that balance at the moment, and how much on either side are you?
I think we as Palestinian has lived more painful time than joyful time. Life is full of good things and bad things. Like we don't have much of joyful time. There has been more sorrow than joy. And this is really painful, Life is not perfect. But when you have 99% of your days with difficulties, with challenges, it became, like really as if you hate your life and you just want to run away to a different reality. Like problems happened everywhere around the world in daily life, okay? But when you live your daily life with every single day difficulties and bad news, and you get really tired, as if you just want to run away, and like your spirit is also tired. We as Palestinians has been through a lot, so we are not having post-traumatic stress disorder because it's ongoing trauma. The trauma didn't end, so it is ongoing, layers after layers, and the cause of the trauma is still there. So we hope that there will be an end soon of the occupation, the cause of the trauma, where we can heal, where our wounds can be healed, and we can at least live a calm life and a normal life, and just enjoy our everything, nature, travel as others, and feel secure like others, and not stressful, and not live in fear and anger and all this trauma and stress related sicknesses. And we are all tired, to be frank, like we are all tired. It has been very heavy on us.
Are there things that are currently bringing you hope?
Oh gosh, this is a good question and hard question. Like the moment I will lose hope, I will not stay in Bethlehem anymore. My faith is my main source of hope. My family is also another main source of hope. Friends and people like you who care for us is also a source of hope. We will try not to lose hope, but it is very hard to keep hope alive this because of all these challenges. So there is big challenges, but for me, I refuse to lose hope. And my presence in Bethlehem is giving me hope. My daily activities is giving me hope. Going to meet with people and try to help people, and just being an active is a way to help. Again, my faith, my family, my friends, and the good people all over is a source of hope.
Okay, well, just finally, I guess the other part of the Christmas story, there's a star that goes up to communicate to the world from Bethlehem. And so I wonder if you could give a message to people around the world this Christmas, what would it be?
My message this Christmas from Bethlehem is just stand for justice. Be pro-justice. Don't forget us. Don't forget Bethlehem in your prayers. Peace is a must. Peace is a must, and we need to stand for justice. Palestinians' life matter, and what you do is gonna change the situation. Don't stop. Stand for justice. Be pro-justice, pro-humanity. Stand for your values. Write letters to your representatives. And I really wish you all a blessed and safe celebration. And we all need to work for a world without violence, with respect and with equality and dignity. With my deep gratitude and blessing for you all from Bethlehem. God bless you.
Okay, thank you very much, Usama, for talking with us today.
It's my pleasure, and I really appreciate this opportunity very much. Thank you, and God bless you.
We have been speaking on the show to Usama Nicola, who is in Bethlehem in the occupied West Bank in Palestine. And maybe this year for Christmas, instead of buying some more plastic junk, you could consider supporting some of the charities in Palestine. Of course, there's so much need there. If you had a look around, you could find one that you found you wanted to support the work that they were doing, because there's a lot of work to do in that place. And so I encourage you to think about that, when it comes to gifting and things like that. And always, it's a great idea, instead of all your relatives or friends or whatever, instead of giving them more things that they do not need, to give them the gift of saying, well, your gift has been given to somebody that really needs it. Also, there is a protest in the city, the No Christmas in Gaza, No Christmas in Bethlehem protest, and it will be the last Palestinian rally of the year. There have been many, not just in our city of Brisbane, but around the country and around the world. I was down in Wollongong, where they've been doing weekly Palestine rallies, and I got to go along to one of them the other week, and also in Canberra as well. It's been weekly Palestine rallies there. The week I was there, it was pouring rain, and we turned up, and there was still one family had come down with their Palestinian flag to just to make sure that the presents went on. And so, people have been really digging deep to show solidarity with Palestine over a long extended period now. And I guess we're going to have to keep doing it and keep on thinking up creative ways of doing it. Just turning up for rallies, it's so valuable, and that kind of solidarity, every person like Usama that I have spoken to from Palestine, all of them say that they gain so much from seeing the solidarity from people around the world. And so it is really important, but also strategically we've got to think about other things as well, what we can do to try to use our collective power as a movement to work for justice for the people we're connected to in Gaza. This will be the last paradigm shift for the year. I'm going to go down to my family in country New South Wales over Christmas and New Year, but I'll be back next year bringing you more stories of people trying to change the world in our city and all around the globe. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.